Captain Lee Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the Earthship Unity, watching the massive alien station grow larger on the viewing screen. After 300 years of searching the stars, humanity had finally found others. The Galactic Confederation station was beautiful, made of smooth white metal that curved like flowing water. Soft blue lights danced across its surface. "Captain, we're getting another welcome message," said Communications Officer Kim Tae-won. "They seem very excited to meet us." Lee Dae-ho nodded. He was a man of 45 years, with gray starting to show in his black hair. He had spent 20 years in Earth's space navy, fighting pirates and protecting trade ships. Now he faced something completely new. "Dr. Park, are you ready for this?" he asked. Dr. Park Hyejin looked up from her tablet. She was the team's expert on alien life and cultures. Her job was to help humans and aliens understand each other. "As ready as anyone can be for first contact, Captain. The translation computers are working well. Their language is very logical." The docking was smooth. Lee Dae-ho led a team of 12 humans into the station. They wore their best dress uniforms, blue and gold, with Earth's symbol on the chest. Each human carried a small weapon, hidden but ready. It was basic military training. Always be prepared. The airlock opened, and they met their first aliens. The leader was tall and thin, with skin that looked like purple crystal. Light moved through its body like water. Behind it stood a creature that looked like a walking jellyfish floating a few inches off the ground. A third alien looked almost human, but had 4 arms and silver eyes. "Welcome, humans of Earth," the crystal being said. Its voice came from a small device, translating its words. "I am Keeper Velnari of the Crystal Worlds. This is Navigator Morthek of the Ocean Worlds and Diplomat Zafiri of the Gas Worlds. We speak for the Galactic Confederation." Lee Dae-ho stepped forward and bowed slightly. "I am Captain Lee Dae-ho of Earth's Space Navy. This is Dr. Park Hyejin, our cultural expert, and Commander Kim Tae-won, our security chief. We come in peace." Velnari's crystal body flashed with happy colors. "Peace. Yes, we understand this. Word very well. Come, let us show you our home." The tour was amazing. The station held beings from 17 different worlds. They lived and worked together in perfect harmony. Gardens floated in the air. Water flowed upward in impossible spirals. Music that sounded like singing crystals filled the halls. "How long has the Confederation existed?" Dr. Park asked as they walked. 3,000 of your years," Morthek answered. Its voice bubbled like water. "We have had peace all this time. No wars, no fighting. When we disagree, we talk. When we have problems, we find solutions together." Commander Kim looked around with soldiers' eyes. "No security? No weapons? No guards?" The aliens looked confused. Zafiri's gas body swirled nervously. "Why would we need such things? Who would we guard against? We are all friends here." "But what if someone attacks you?" Kim asked. "Attack?" Velnari's crystal body turned a puzzled blue color. "We do not understand this word. Please explain." Dr. Park stepped in quickly. "He means, what if someone tries to hurt you or take your things?" "But why would anyone do that?" Morthek bubbled. "If someone needs something, they ask. We share. If someone is angry, we talk until they are not angry anymore." The humans looked at each other. Lee Dae-ho felt a chill run down his back. These aliens had never known war. They had no idea that evil could exist. The meeting continued in a large round room. Hundreds of aliens watched from floating platforms. The humans sat at a curved table with the Confederation leaders. "Tell us about your world," Velnari asked. "What is Earth like?" Dr. Park smiled. "Earth is beautiful. We have blue oceans, green forests, and tall mountains. 7 billion humans live there. We have many countries, many cultures, many languages." 7 billion! Zafiri gasped, its gas body spinning faster. "How do you keep peace with so many?" The humans were quiet for a moment. Finally, Lee Dae-ho spoke. "We don't always have peace. Sometimes our countries fight. Sometimes people hurt each other. We have learned to be ready to defend ourselves." "Defend?" Morthek asked. "From what?" "From others who might want to hurt us," Kim said. "We have armies and weapons. We train soldiers to protect our people." The alien crowd made sounds of shock and worry. Velnari's body turned dark red. "You have weapons? You train to hurt others?" We train to protect others, Lee Dae-ho said firmly. We hope we never have to use our weapons. But we must be ready. This is terrible, Zephyri said, floating backward. How can you live with such fear? How can you think about hurting other beings? Dr. Park tried to explain. We don't want to hurt anyone. But our history teaches us that not everyone is good. Some people take things that don't belong to them. Some people hurt others for fun. We must be ready to stop them. The aliens whispered among themselves in their own languages. Finally, Velnari spoke again. We are sorry for your people. To live with such fear must be very hard. Here in the Confederation, we have moved beyond such primitive thinking. Primitive? Commander Kim's voice was sharp. Please do not be angry, Morthek said quickly. We mean no offense. We understand that younger races often go through violent periods. You will learn to be peaceful, as we have. What if you're wrong? Lee Dae-ho asked. What if something dangerous comes from outside the Confederation? Something that doesn't want to talk or share? Velnari's body flashed with confident light. Nothing like that exists. The galaxy is peaceful. Life wants to grow and share, not destroy. In 3,000 years, have you never met anyone who disagreed with that? Dr. Park asked. Sometimes young races are confused when we first meet. Them, Zephyri admitted. But they always learn. Everyone learns to be peaceful when they see how much better it is. The meeting went on for hours. The humans tried to explain military ideas, but the aliens couldn't understand. When Lee Dae-ho mentioned total war, the aliens were horrified. When Kim talked about tactical advantage, they looked sick. When Dr. Park explained defensive strategy, they asked why anyone would need such a thing. Finally, Velnari stood up. We welcome you to the Confederation, humans of Earth, but we hope you will learn to leave your violent ways behind. We will help you become peaceful, like us. Lee Dae-ho stood as well. We appreciate your welcome, but we won't give up our ability to defend ourselves. History has taught us that peace is precious because it can be taken away. Who would take it away? Morthek asked. We don't know, Lee Dae-ho said quietly. That's why we stay ready. As the humans walked back to their ship, Commander Kim shook his head. Captain, they have no idea what's out there. They're like children who've never seen a wolf. Maybe that's good, Dr. Park said. Maybe they're right, and the galaxy really is peaceful. Lee Dae-ho looked out at the stars through a window. Maybe. But I've read enough history to know that peace doesn't last forever. Something always comes along to test it. What do we do if that happens? Kim asked. We'll be ready, Lee Dae-ho said. Even if they're not. The Unity undocked from the station and began its journey back to Earth. Behind them, the aliens celebrated their new friends and planned ways to help humans become more peaceful. None of them noticed the long-range sensors detecting something moving in the dark space between galaxies, something that had no interest in talking or sharing, something hungry. 6 months had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Confederation. The aliens were still trying to understand humans, and humans were still trying to fit into a peaceful galaxy. Dr. Yoon So-ra sat in her office on the Confederation station, reading reports from Earth. She was a military psychologist, sent to study how aliens thought about conflict. Her job was important, but frustrating. Every day she talked to aliens who couldn't understand why humans carried weapons or trained soldiers. Dr. Yoon, her assistant called through the door. Admiral Choi wants to see you right away. Admiral Choi Min-ho had arrived last week from Earth. He was 60 years old with sharp eyes and gray hair. He had fought in 3 wars and commanded Earth's largest space fleet. The aliens didn't like him much. He made them nervous. Doctor, Admiral Choi said when she entered his office, we have a problem, a big one. He showed her a holographic display. Strange ships moved through space, dark and twisted. They looked like metal spiders with too many legs. What am I looking at? Dr. Yoon asked. Long-range scouts found these ships 3 days ago, Admiral Choi said. They're heading toward Confederation space. The aliens call them Devourers. Devourers? That doesn't sound friendly. It's not. Admiral Choi touched the display and it showed a dead planet. The surface was gray and empty, like someone had sucked all the life out of it. This is what they leave behind. Dr. Yoon felt cold. How many ships? Thousands, maybe more. They move in a swarm, eating everything in their path. Plants, animals, even the soil itself. Have the Confederation leaders seen this? Admiral Choi's face was grim. Yes, they want to send diplomats. Diplomats? They think this is all a misunderstanding. They believe these devourers just need someone to talk to them. Dr. Yoon stared at the image of the dead world. What do you think? I think we're about to watch good people die because they can't imagine that evil exists. The Confederation Council met in emergency session. Representatives from all 17 worlds gathered in the Great Crystal Dome. Keeper Velnari stood at the center, its body flashing worried colors. Friends, Velnari said, we face a new challenge. Unknown ships approach our space. They have damaged several worlds, but we believe this is a mistake. Admiral Choi sat with the human delegation. Next to him was Lieutenant Nam Jun-woo, a young tactical officer with bright eyes and quick thinking. The lieutenant whispered, Sir, they really think this is an accident? Quiet, Admiral Choi murmured back. Let's see how far this goes. Navigator Morthek floated forward. We have prepared a welcome fleet. Our best diplomats will greet these newcomers and explain about the Confederation. Once they understand our ways, they will join us in peace. What if they don't want to join? Admiral Choi asked, standing up. The council turned to look at him. Many aliens moved away slightly, uncomfortable with his presence. Diplomat Zephyri swirled nervously. Why would they not want to join? Peace is better than conflict. Sharing is better than taking. Because not all species think like you do, Admiral Choi said. Some beings only understand strength. Admiral, Velnari said sadly, you bring your human fears to our discussion. These newcomers are not human. They may be more evolved, more peaceful. They've destroyed 4 planets, Admiral Choi said. How is that peaceful? Perhaps they need those resources for their survival, Morthek bubbled. We can share our resources with them. Then they won't need to take from uninhabited worlds. Those worlds weren't uninhabited, Lieutenant Nam said, unable to stay quiet. Our scans showed cities, farms, millions of beings. They're all gone now. The council was silent for a moment. Then, Zephyri spoke. Perhaps those beings evacuated before the newcomers arrived. Perhaps they are safe somewhere else. Admiral Choi wanted to shake them all. You're not listening. These creatures don't negotiate. They don't evacuate civilians. They consume everything. You don't know that, Velnari said firmly. You think like a warrior, so you see enemies everywhere. We think like beings of peace, so we see friends who need guidance. The vote was unanimous except for the humans. The Confederation would send its best diplomats to welcome the Devourers. Dr. Yoon found Admiral Choi in the human quarters that night. He was staring out at the stars, holding a cup of coffee. They won't listen, she said. No, he agreed. They can't. 3,000 years of peace has made them forget that monsters exist. What do we do? Admiral Choi turned to face her. We get ready. When their diplomats don't come back, they'll need us. You really think the diplomats will die? I know they will. Those ships aren't exploring or looking for friends. They're hunting. 3 days later, the Confederation sent a beautiful white ship to meet the Devourers. It carried 12 diplomats from different worlds and gifts representing each species. The ship's message pods broadcast welcome signals in every known language. The human ships watched from a safe distance. Admiral Choi stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Defender, surrounded by his officers. Lieutenant Nam monitored the communications. The diplomatic ship is approaching the Devourer fleet, Nam reported. They're broadcasting standard peaceful greetings. Any response? Admiral Choi asked. Nothing, sir. The Devourers aren't answering. On the main screen, they watched the small white ship approach the dark swarm. The Devourer ships looked like insects made of black metal, all sharp edges and hungry curves. Sir, Nam said, his voice tight. The diplomatic ship has stopped. They're being surrounded. The Devourer ships moved like living things, flowing around the diplomatic vessel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the white ship simply vanished. 1 second it was there, the next it was gone. Not destroyed. Consumed. Communications, try to reach the diplomatic ship, Admiral Choi ordered, even though he knew it was hopeless. No response, sir. No wreckage, either. It's like it never existed. Admiral Choi closed his eyes for a moment. 12 good beings had just died because they couldn't imagine evil. Sir, Nam said urgently, the Devourer fleet is moving. They're heading straight for Carrion Prime. Carrion Prime was a beautiful world, with floating cities and crystal gardens. 3 billion aliens lived there in perfect peace. How long until they arrive? Admiral Choi asked. 18 hours at their current speed. Admiral Choi activated the emergency communication system. Confederation Council, this is Admiral Choi. The diplomatic mission has failed. The Devourers are heading for Carrion Prime. You need to evacuate that world immediately. Velnari's voice came back, confused and sad. Admiral, the diplomatic ship has stopped reporting. Perhaps they are in deep negotiations. Keeper Velnari, that ship is gone, destroyed, eaten. The Devourers are coming, and they're not interested in talking. That cannot be true. Morthek's voice bubbled with distress. No one destroys diplomatic missions. There are rules. There are laws. Their rules are different, Admiral Choi said. They don't care about your laws. Please evacuate Carrion Prime. We cannot evacuate 3 billion beings because of human paranoia, Zephyri said firmly. We will send another diplomatic mission. Perhaps the first one had technical problems. Admiral Choi looked around his bridge. His officers watched him with serious faces. They all knew what was coming. Dr. Yoon, he said into his communicator, how long do you think it will take them to understand? 18 hours, she replied sadly. When Carrion Prime falls. The Admiral nodded. Then we have 18 hours to get ready for when they finally ask for our help. Lieutenant Nam looked up from his station. Sir, what if they never ask? What if they keep trying to negotiate even after Carrion Prime? Admiral Choi stared at the tactical display showing the approaching Devourer fleet. Dark ships, moving like hungry shadows across the stars. Then we'll watch the galaxy die one world at a time, he said quietly, and hope they come to their senses before it's too late. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of computers. Outside, the stars looked cold and distant. Somewhere among them, an ancient evil was moving, and the only beings who understood how to fight it were the ones everyone thought were too violent to understand peace. But Admiral Choi understood something the aliens didn't. Sometimes the only way to preserve peace was to be ready for war. The emergency alarms screamed through the Confederation station. Admiral Choi ran toward the command center, his boots echoing in the crystal corridors. Behind him, Lieutenant Nam and Dr. Yoon struggled to keep up. Carrion Prime was gone. The beautiful world with its floating cities and 3 billion peaceful inhabitants had been consumed in less than 6 hours. The Devourers had landed like a plague, stripping away everything from the surface down to the rock core. Plants, animals, buildings, even the air itself, all of it fed into their hungry ships. How many survivors? Admiral Choi asked as he burst into the command center. Keeper Velnari stood frozen in the center of the room, its crystal body flickering with shocked white light. None, it whispered. There are no survivors. Navigator Morthek floated nearby, its jellyfish body trembling. We sent evacuation ships, but the Devourers ate them too. Ships, crew, everything. Admiral Choi felt sick, but he pushed the feeling down. There was no time for emotion now. Where are they heading next? Diplomat Zephyri swirled in confused circles. We don't understand. Why didn't they respond to our offers? We had food, technology, friendship. What more could they want? Everything, Dr. Yoon said quietly. They want everything. The tactical display showed the Devourer swarm moving toward another world, Thessia Minor, home to 2 billion crystal beings like Velnari. Keeper, Admiral Choi said firmly, you need to give me command of your defense forces. We have no defense forces, Velnari said, its voice hollow. We have exploration ships, science vessels, transport craft. Nothing designed for this. Then we build them, Admiral Choi said. Right now. Build them? How? We don't know how to make weapons. We don't know how to fight. Admiral Choi turned to the assembled alien leaders. Fear filled their strange faces. Crystalline features dark with terror, gas bodies swirling frantically, jellyfish forms contracted in panic. "I do," he said simply. "I know how to fight. My people know how to fight. Give us command, and we'll teach you." "Teach us what?" Morthek bubbled desperately. "War." The word hung in the air like a curse. For 3,000 years, these beings had lived without needing such knowledge. Now their survival depended on learning it quickly. Colonel Kong Hai-wan arrived on the first human transport, along with 500 Earth military advisors. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and quick hands, an expert in training soldiers and building armies from nothing. "Admiral," she said, saluting as she stepped off the transport. "Earth Command sends their best. We're ready to work." "Good," Admiral Choi replied, "because we have maybe 2 weeks before they hit another major world." The training began immediately. The humans divided the alien species by their natural abilities. The Velnari, with their hard crystal bodies, could make excellent defensive troops. The Morthek, adapted to water worlds, would be perfect for surprise attacks. The Zephyri, being made of gas, could scout and spy like no one else. Colonel Kang worked with a group of young Velnari in what used to be a meditation garden. The crystals were struggling to understand the concept of formation fighting. "Stand closer together," she instructed through a translator. "You need to support each other." A Velnari named Keeper Sylvan flickered nervously. "But if we stand close, we might accidentally hurt each other with our sharp edges." "That's the point," Colonel Kang said patiently. "Your sharp edges protect your friends. Their sharp edges protect you. But what if someone trips? What if we make a mistake? Then you help them up and keep fighting." Sylvan's crystal body showed confused colors. "This is very different from our meditation practices. Meditation is about finding peace inside yourself," Colonel Kang explained. "War is about protecting the peace outside yourself." In another section of the station, engineer Lim Dong-jun worked with alien scientists to modify their ships. The beings had incredible technology, faster-than-light travel, energy shields, matter converters, but none of it was designed for combat. "We can turn your exploration beams into weapons," Lim explained to a group of Morthek engineers. "And your mineral scanners can track enemy ships." "But exploration beams are meant to study stars," one Morthek protested. "Not hurt people." "The Devourers aren't people," Lim said grimly. "They're more like a disease, and sometimes you have to use strong medicine to cure a disease." The hardest part was teaching strategy. Corporal Seo Mi-young found herself trying to explain tactical thinking to beings who had never needed to outthink an enemy. "Pretend you're playing a game," she told a mixed group of young aliens. "Your opponent wants to take your pieces. How do you stop them?" "We ask them nicely not to take our pieces," suggested a small Zephyri. "What if they don't listen?" "We offer to share our pieces with them." Seo Mi-young rubbed her forehead. This was going to be harder than she thought. Admiral Choi stood in the main war room, watching reports come in from all over Confederation space. His staff had worked day and night to set up a proper command center. Maps showed Devourer movements, defensive positions, and evacuation routes. "Sir," Lieutenant Nam reported, "we've got 30,000 alien recruits in basic training. Another 50,000 in technical programs." "How are they doing?" "Better than expected, but—" Nam hesitated. "They keep asking permission to retreat. They don't understand why anyone would stand and fight when they could run away and talk about the problem later." Admiral Choi nodded. It was natural for peaceful beings to avoid conflict, but the Devourers didn't give them that choice. Dr. Yoon entered the war room carrying a tablet full of psychological profiles. "Admiral, I've been studying the alien mindset. They understand the need to defend themselves intellectually, but emotionally they're struggling." "What do you mean?" "They keep hoping this is all temporary, that somehow things will go back to how they were before. They're learning to fight, but they don't really believe they'll have to use what they learn." "They will," Admiral Choi said grimly. "Thessia Minor has 12 hours before the Devourers arrive." As if summoned by his words, Keeper Velnari entered the war room. Its crystal body was dim with exhaustion and stress. "Admiral," it said, Our scientists have been studying the Devourer ships. They're unlike anything we've ever seen. How so? They're not built, Velnari explained. They're grown, like living creatures but made of metal and energy, and they share a single mind. A hive mind? Yes. Each ship is like a finger on a hand. They move together, think together, act together. Admiral. Choi felt a chill. That makes them very dangerous. No confusion, no arguments, no hesitation. But also, Dr. Yoon said thoughtfully, predictable. If they all think the same way, they might all make the same mistakes. Lieutenant Nam looked up from his communication station. Sir, we're getting a message from Thessia Minor. They're requesting immediate evacuation assistance. Deploy the evacuation fleet, Admiral Choi ordered, and send our first combat group as escort. Sir, Nam said nervously, the combat group is mostly new alien recruits. Are you sure they're ready? Admiral Choi looked around the war room. Human officers worked alongside alien advisors, sharing tactical information and coordinating defenses. A month ago, these beings had never heard of military strategy. Now they were planning the defense of their civilization. No, he said honestly. I'm not sure they're ready. But ready or not, it's time to find out what they've learned. The evacuation fleet launched 2 hours later. 50 ships carrying human-trained crews moved toward Thessia Minor. At their head flew the Unity, now armed with weapons designed by human engineers and built by alien scientists. Captain Lee Dae-ho stood on the bridge, watching his mixed crew work together. Velnari crystal beings operated the defensive systems. Morthek navigators plotted their course through space. Zephyri scouts monitored long-range sensors. Captain, the Zephyri scout reported, its gas body swirling with nervous energy. I detect the Devourer fleet. They're still 6 hours away from Thessia Minor. Good, Lee Dae-ho said. That gives us time to set up our defenses. Sir, asked a young Velnari at the weapons station, what if our training isn't enough? What if we fail? Lee Dae-ho looked at the alien's frightened crystal face. 6 months ago, this being had never imagined violence. Now it was preparing to fight for its people's survival. Then we fail together, he said simply. But we don't give up. We keep fighting until there's nothing left to fight for. The Velnari's crystal body flickered with determination. Yes, Captain. We fight. As the evacuation fleet approached Thessia Minor, Admiral Choi received word that 3 more worlds had requested military advisors. The galaxy was finally waking up to the reality of war. But would they wake up in time? Major Han Ji-woo stood in the training center watching the strangest military exercise in galactic history. 3 different alien species were trying to work together as a combat unit, and it was not going well. Morthek's squad advanced to the left, she called out through her translator. Velnari squad, hold the center. Zephyri scouts, report enemy positions. The jellyfish-like Morthek floated forward, but they moved too slowly. The crystal Velnari formed a wall, but they left gaps between them. The gas cloud Zephyri found the fake enemies easily, but forgot to tell anyone where they were. Stop, Major Han called. What went wrong? A young Morthek named Navigator Bluven bubbled nervously. We tried to be gentle when we moved. We didn't. Want to splash anyone? The Devourers won't care if you splash them, Major Han said firmly. Move fast. Move hard. A Velnari crystal soldier named Keeper Jin Ara flickered with embarrassment. We left spaces in our formation because we thought our friends might want to retreat if they got scared. No retreat, Major Han said. Your job is to protect each other. Stand close. Fight together. The Zephyri scout, a swirling being named Diplomat Yunki, spun in confused circles. We found the enemies, but we didn't want to interrupt the others while they were concentrating. Major Han rubbed her temples. In combat, information saves lives. Always report what you see immediately. It was the same problem everywhere. The aliens had the physical abilities to be good soldiers, but 3,000 years of peace had taught them to be gentle, polite, and considerate. These were wonderful qualities for civilization, but terrible habits for war. Captain Oh Sung-min worked with a different problem. He was trying to teach alien officers how to make hard decisions quickly. The enemy is attacking 2 positions at once, he explained to a mixed group of alien commanders. You can only help one. Which do you choose? Commander Velnari Kaitan's crystal body flickered with stress. Can't we split our forces and help both? Then you're too weak to save either one, Captain O said. Choose. We need more information. How many civilians are at each position? What strategic value do they have? Can we negotiate with the attackers? You have 30 seconds before both. Positions are overrun, Captain O said. Choose now. The aliens looked at each other in panic. They were used to having time to discuss every decision, to consider every option, to find solutions that made everyone happy. This is impossible, bubbled Commander Morthek Davin. How can we choose who lives and who dies? Because if you don't choose, everyone dies, Captain O said sadly. War doesn't give you good choices. It only gives you necessary ones. Doctor. Bei Yunji faced the most difficult task of all. She was trying to teach psychological warfare to beings who didn't understand the concept of lying. Sometimes, you need to make the enemy think you're weaker than you are, she explained to a group of alien intelligence officers. Or stronger, or attacking from a different direction. Diplomat Zephyri Soral spun in confusion. But that would be lying. We don't lie. It's not lying to your friends, Dr. Bei said patiently. It's misleading your enemies to protect your friends. But the Devourers are still living beings, protested Navigator Morthek Huitan. Don't they deserve honesty too? Dr. Bei showed them a video from Carrion Prime, the dead world stripped bare of all life. They're not interested in honesty. They're only interested in eating. The aliens watched the footage in silence. Finally, Keeper Velnari Minho spoke quietly. This is very hard for us. Our whole civilization is built on trust and truth. I know, Dr. Bei said gently, and that's beautiful. But right now, your civilization needs to survive. After we win this war, you can go back to being trusting and truthful. Will we? Asked the Velnari. Will we be able to forget what we're learning? Dr. Bei looked at the alien's worried crystal face. It was a good question, and she didn't have a good answer. Meanwhile, Admiral Choi worked on the biggest challenge of all, creating a unified command structure for 17 different species who had never needed military organization. Each species will contribute according to their strengths, he explained to the Confederation Council. Velnari will form our heavy infantry. Morthek will handle aquatic and surprise operations. Zephyri will be our scouts and spies. What? About command? Asked Keeper Velnari. Who gives orders to whom? Humans will provide overall strategic command, Admiral Choi said. We have the most experience with warfare, but local tactical command will go to the species best suited for each mission. Some aliens looked uncomfortable with this. Diplomat Zephyri Yunsol swirled nervously. Humans making decisions for all of us? That seems dominating. Would you prefer to make the decisions? Admiral Choi asked. Well, no. We don't know how. Then trust us to teach you. When this war is over, you'll have your own military leaders who understand how to protect your worlds. Navigator Morthek Tabin bubbled with concern. What if we don't like the orders humans give us? Admiral Choi's voice became hard. Then you follow them anyway. In war, there's no time for committee meetings. Orders are given, orders are followed. Lives depend on it. The aliens shifted uncomfortably. They weren't used to taking orders without discussion. 3 weeks into the training program, the first major test came. The Devourers had finished consuming Thessia Minor and were heading for Altair Station, a major trade hub with 12 billions inhabitants. This is it, Admiral Choi announced to his senior staff. We either stop them here, or they'll be unstoppable. General Ryu Kyung-soo had arrived with the main Earth fleet. He was a tall, serious man who had spent 40 years in the military. Admiral, our alien recruits have basic training, but they've never been in real combat. Then it's time they learned, Admiral Choi said grimly. The combined fleet moved out 2 days later, 50 human ships and 200 alien vessels crewed by beings who had been learning warfare for less than a month. Captain Lee Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity, watching his crew prepare for battle. His weapons officer was a Velnari named Jin Ara, the same crystal being who had been leaving gaps in formations a week ago. His navigator was the Morthek Blue Ven, who had been moving too slowly in training. His communications officer was the Zephyri Yunki, who had been too polite to interrupt. Captain, Yunki reported, its gas body swirling with concentration. Long-range sensors detect the Devourer fleet. 300 ships approaching fast. Thank you, Lee Dae-ho said. Good report. Jin Ara looked up from the weapons console, crystal body flickering with nervous energy. Captain, I'm scared. Good, Lee Dae-ho said. Fear keeps you alive. Channel it into focus. Blue Van bubbled from the navigation station. Captain, what if we're not ready? What if we fail? Lee Dae-ho looked around his bridge at the alien crew he had come to trust. They were frightened, inexperienced, and facing an enemy that had already destroyed multiple worlds. Then we fail, he said simply. But we don't quit. We fight until we can't fight anymore. And then we fight some more. The tactical display showed both fleets approaching each other. Human ships in formation with their alien allies, moving to protect a space station full of civilians. Devourer ships swarming like hungry insects, ready to consume everything in their path. All ships. Admiral Choi's voice came over the communication system. This is Admiral Choi. Today we find out if peace is worth fighting for. Today we find out if the galaxy can learn to defend itself. Today we teach the universe that there are some things worth dying for. The alien crews listened to the translation with growing determination. For 3,000 years, they had known only peace. Now, they were about to discover war. Enemy ships in range, Jinara reported, her crystal voice steady despite her fear. All ships, Lee Dae-ho commanded, engage the enemy. The Battle of Altair Station had begun. The space around Altair Station erupted in fire and light. 300 Devourer ships crashed into the combined Galactic Defense Force like a black wave hitting a crystal wall. Captain Lee Dae-ho gripped his command chair as the Unity shook under enemy fire. Around him, his alien crew worked with desperate concentration. Jin Ara, target their lead ships, he ordered. The Velnari weapons officer's crystal body blazed with focused light. Firing main weapons, she announced. Energy beams lanced out. From the Unity, striking a Devourer ship. The enemy vessel staggered but kept coming. Direct hit, but minimal damage, Jin Ara reported, her voice tight with fear. Keep firing, Lee Dae-ho said. Bluevin, evasive maneuvers. The Morthek navigator's jellyfish body contracted with effort. Turning to port, he bubbled, diving below the enemy formation. On the main screen, Lee Dae-ho watched the battle unfold. The human ships fought with precise discipline, their weapons cutting into the Devourer swarm. But the alien ships were struggling. Some moved too slowly. Others broke formation when they took damage. A few tried to retreat when the fighting got intense. Yunki, Lee Dae-ho called to his Zephyri communications officer. Get me Admiral Choi. Yes, Captain, the gas being replied, its body swirling as it worked. Admiral on secure channel. Admiral, this is Lee. The alien crews are having trouble. They're fighting, but they're not fighting together. Admiral Choi's voice crackled through the speakers. I see it, Captain. We need to give them confidence. Take your ship into the thick of it. Show them how it's done. Copy that, Admiral. Lee Dae-ho turned to his crew. All hands, prepare for close combat. We're going into the center of the enemy formation. Jin Ara's crystal body flickered with terror. Captain, that's suicide. No, Lee Dae-ho said firmly. That's leadership. Bluevin, full speed ahead. Take us right into the middle of them. The Unity accelerated toward the densest part of the Devourer swarm. Enemy ships surrounded them, dark and hungry. Weapons fire lit up space like deadly fireworks. Jin Ara, continuous fire on all targets, Lee Dae-ho commanded. Don't stop shooting. Yes, Captain. The Velnari's fear transformed into determination. Her crystal body burned bright as she worked the weapons console. Firing! Firing! Direct hit on enemy ship! Bluven, keep us moving. Don't let them surround. Us! Yes, Captain! The Morthek navigator pushed his ship through impossible maneuvers, dodging between enemy vessels. We're through their line! Yunki, broadcast to all Allied ships. Follow our lead! Broadcasting now, Captain. The Unity carved a path through the enemy formation, weapons blazing, and slowly other ships began to follow. First the human vessels, then the braver alien crews, then more and more until a stream of Allied ships punched through the Devourer swarm. On the command ship Defender, Admiral Choi watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. "That's it," he murmured. "Show them how to fight." General Ryu stood beside him, coordinating the battle. "Admiral, we're losing ships. The aliens are brave, but they're making mistakes." "They're learning, Admiral," Choi said. "Every mistake teaches them something. At this rate, the lesson might kill them all." Admiral Choi activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Choi. I know you're scared. I know this is new. But look around you. Look at your friends fighting beside you. They need you. The civilians on Altair Station need you. Fight for them." Major Song Yu-jin led the evacuation efforts on Altair Station. 12 billion beings needed to be moved to safety, and there wasn't much time. "Move the children first," she ordered the mixed human-alien evacuation teams. "Then the elderly and injured." A Velnari civilian named Keeper Min Seo approached her, crystal body dim with worry. "Major, my family is in Sector 7. The transport ships are full." "Another transport will come," Major Song said. "I promise." "But what if the battle is lost? What if the Devourers break through?" Major Song looked at the civilian's frightened face. "Then we'll keep fighting until the last transport leaves. No one gets left behind." The evacuation continued as the battle raged in space above them. Mothers carried children. Old beings helped each other toward the transport bays. Everyone moved as fast as they could, but 12 billion people couldn't be moved quickly. Back in space, Sergeant Kim Hyun-woo commanded a mixed squad of human and alien Marines. Their job was to board damaged Devourer ships and destroy them from inside. "Remember your training," he told his squad over the radio. "Velnari take point with their hard bodies. Morthek follow up with heavy weapons. Zephyri provide reconnaissance." The squad's transport approached a damaged Devourer vessel. The enemy ship looked like a giant metal spider, all sharp edges and dark corridors. "Breach!" Kim ordered. They cut through the ship's hull and poured inside. The interior was like a nightmare. Organic walls that pulsed like living tissue, but made of metal and wire. Strange lights flickered in the darkness. "This place gives me the creeps," muttered Private Velnari Do-hyun, her crystal body glowing. "To provide light." "Focus on the mission," Kim said. "Find the power core and destroy it." They moved through the twisted corridors, following readings from their scanners. The ship felt alive around them, as if it were watching their every move. "Contact!" called Scout Zephyri Junho. "Devourer ground units ahead." The enemy appeared around a corner. Creatures that looked like metal insects with too many legs and glowing red eyes. They moved fast and attacked without fear. "Velnari shield wall!" Kim ordered. The crystal beings formed a barrier while the Morthek and humans fired over their heads. The Devourers threw themselves against the shields, trying to break through. "They're not stopping," Do-hyun said, strain showing in her crystal voice. "Hold the line," Kim said. "Junho, find us another route." The Zephyri scout flowed through a ventilation shaft, his gas body moving like smoke. "Found it. Power core is 2 decks down, but there's a lot of them guarding it." "Then we go through them," Kim said grimly. The battle in space continued for 6 hours. Ships died on both sides, but slowly the combined fleet began to win. The aliens learned to work together, to follow orders, to fight as a team instead of individuals. Captain Lee Dae-ho's ship had taken heavy damage, but Jinara kept the weapons firing. Bluven kept them moving despite engine failures. Yunki coordinated with other ships even as their communications array sparked and smoked. "Captain," Jinara reported, "enemy flagship is moving toward Altair Station. If it reaches the station..." "It won't," Lee Dae-ho said. "Plot an intercept course." "Sir," Bluven said nervously, "our ship is badly damaged. We might not survive a direct assault." Lee Dae-ho looked at his alien crew, beings who had never imagined they would need to be soldiers. Now they were ready to die to protect others. "Set course for the enemy flagship," he ordered. "All power to weapons." The Unity limped toward the massive Devourer command ship. Other allied vessels joined them, humans and aliens fighting side by side. "This is it," Lee Dae-ho announced to his crew. "Today we find out if the galaxy is worth saving." Jinara's crystal body blazed with determination. "Yes, Captain. Today we save the galaxy." The final assault began as dozens of ships converged on the Devourer flagship. In the corridors of Altair Station, the last evacuees rushed toward safety, and in the damaged Devourer ship, Sergeant Kim's squad finally reached the power core. The Battle of Altair Station was about to reach its climax, and the galaxy would never be the same. 10 years had passed since the Battle of Altair Station. The galaxy was no longer the same peaceful place it had been before the Devourers came. Fleet Admiral Zhong Wu-seok stood on the observation deck of the Interspecies Military Academy, watching young beings from 17 different worlds practice combat drills. Velnari crystal soldiers worked alongside Morthek naval officers. Zephyri scouts shared intelligence with human strategists. "Hard to believe, isn't it?" said Ambassador Park So-hyun, joining him at the window. 10 years ago, most of these species had never seen a weapon. Admiral Zhong nodded. He had gray hair now and lines around his eyes from years of command decisions. "Sometimes I wonder if we did the right thing, teaching them to fight." "Do you really wonder?" Ambassador Park asked. Through the window, they watched a mixed squad of young aliens working together perfectly. A Velnari named Cadet Kiara led her team through a tactical exercise, giving clear orders to her human, Morthek, and Zephyri squad mates. They moved like they had been born to work together. "No," Admiral Zhong said quietly. "I don't wonder. I know we did what we had to do." The Devourer War had lasted 3 years. After the victory at Altair Station, the aliens had learned quickly. Too quickly, some said. The galaxy had transformed from a peaceful confederation into a military alliance almost overnight. Professor Kim Min-seo worked in her office at the Academy, writing the official history of the war. She had interviewed thousands of veterans, both human and alien, to understand how the galaxy had changed. The transformation was remarkable, she dictated to her computer. Species that had never known conflict became some of our finest warriors. The Velnari formed crystal regiments that could hold any defensive line. The Morthek developed naval tactics that revolutionized space combat. The Zephyri created intelligence networks that spanned the entire galaxy. She paused, looking at a photograph on her desk. It showed the mixed crew of the Unity after their famous victory. Captain Lee Dae-ho stood in the center, his arm around the crystal form of Jin Ara. Bluevin floated nearby, his jellyfish body glowing with pride. Yunki swirled in the background, practically radiating happiness. But the cost was high, Professor Kim continued. We lost our innocence. The galaxy learned that peace must be defended, that some threats cannot be reasoned with, and that sometimes good people must do terrible things to protect what they love. The memorial wall in the Academy's main hall listed the names of those who had died in the war. Hundreds of thousands of beings from every species, including many humans who had given their lives to teach others how to survive. Captain Jin Ara, now a full captain herself, visited the memorial every week. Her crystal body had dulled slightly, with age, but her voice was strong as she spoke to the new cadets. War is not glorious, she told them. War is necessary. We do not fight because we enjoy destruction. We fight because we love creation. The cadets listened carefully. Most of them had been born after the war ended. They grew up in a galaxy where every world had defense fleets, where every species trained soldiers, where peace was maintained by strength. "Tell us about the first battle, Captain," asked a young human cadet. Jin Ara's crystal body flickered with old memories. "I was so scared I could barely hold the weapons console steady. I had never imagined hurting another being. But then I saw what the Devourers did to peaceful worlds, and I understood that sometimes you must fight to protect innocence." "Were you angry at the humans for teaching you violence?" asked a Zephyri cadet. "At first, yes," Jin Ara admitted. "We thought humans were primitive and cruel. We learned that they were wise and necessary. They gave us the tools to survive." New Galactic Defense Force was impressive. Every world contributed ships and troops according to their abilities. The old Confederation Council still existed, but now it worked alongside the military high command. Admiral Choi Min-ho, now in his 70s, served as the first Supreme Commander of the Defense Force. He stood in the command center of Starbase, Unity, watching patrol reports come in from across the galaxy. "Any sign of Devourer activity?" he asked his aide, a young Velnari officer named Commander Sylvan. "Negative, sir," Sylvan replied. "Our scouts report the Rim territories are quiet. The Devourers remain contained beyond the galactic barrier." "Good. What about the training exercises?" "All 17 species are participating. Joint operations are running smoothly. The new integrated command structure is working well." Admiral Choi smiled. It had taken years to develop a system where humans, aliens, and everyone in between could work together as equals. Now alien officers commanded human troops, and human advisors worked under alien generals. "Sir," Commander Sylvan said carefully, "some of the older beings are concerned that we're becoming too militaristic. They worry we're losing our peaceful nature." Admiral Choi considered this. It was a valid concern. The galaxy had indeed become more militarized, more suspicious, more ready for conflict. "Tell me, Commander," he said, "do you remember what peace felt like before the war?" Sylvan's crystal body flickered thoughtfully. "I was very young, but yes, everything felt safe. We never worried about threats or enemies. And now? Now I know that peace isn't free. It must be earned and protected." "Then we haven't lost our peaceful nature," Admiral Choi said. "We've learned to value it properly." Dr. Park Hye-jin, now the Dean of Cultural Studies at the Academy, worked on a different kind of project. She was documenting how the war had changed not just military tactics, but entire civilizations. The Velnari developed concepts of duty and sacrifice that never existed in their crystal cities, she wrote. The Morthek learned to act decisively instead of flowing with currents. The Zephyri discovered the value of secrets and strategic deception. Her office was filled with artifacts from before the war, peace treaties, trade agreements, cultural exchanges, all written in languages that assumed conflict was impossible. A knock at her door interrupted her work. "Come in." Captain Lee Dae-ho entered, now wearing the uniform of the Academy's commandant. His hair was completely gray, and he walked with a slight limp from an old war wound. "Hye-jin," he said, using her first name as old friends do. "How's the history coming?" "Slowly," she replied. "It's hard to explain to young people what the galaxy was like before. They can't imagine a time when no one had armies." "Maybe that's good," Lee Dae-ho said, settling into a chair. "Maybe they shouldn't have to imagine helplessness. But have we gone too far? Some worlds are building weapons that could destroy entire star systems. The Velnari want to create crystal fortresses around their home worlds. The Morthek are developing underwater cities that could survive any attack." Lee Dae-ho was quiet for a moment. "Do you know what I told the graduating class last week?" "What?" "I told them that the greatest victory in war is not defeating your enemy. It's making sure your children never have to fight the same war," Dr. Park smiled. "And do you think we've done that? I think we've given them the tools to handle whatever comes next. That's the best any generation can do for the next one." The graduation ceremony was held in the Academy's Great Hall. Thousands of beings filled the crystal amphitheater: parents, teachers, military officials, and government leaders from across the galaxy. Admiral Lee Dae-ho, despite his age and injuries, stood straight at the podium. Before him sat 500 graduates from 17 species, all trained in the arts of war and peace. 10 years ago, he began, humanity taught the galaxy how to fight. Today, you graduate not just as warriors, but as guardians of something precious. The audience listened in complete silence. The universe is not a safe place. It never was, and it never will be. But today, it's a little bit safer because you are ready to defend it. He looked out at the mixed crowd of species, all united by their commitment to protect each other. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of justice, defended by those brave enough to stand against darkness. You are the inheritors of that responsibility. The graduates stood as one, humans and aliens together, ready to take their places as defenders of the galaxy. Some of you will serve on patrol ships at the Rim, watching for new threats. Some will train the next generation of defenders. Some will explore new worlds and make new friends. All of you will remember that freedom is not free, and peace is not permanent. Admiral Lee's voice carried across the hall, reaching every being present. The galaxy never understood war until humanity taught them. Now you understand that war is not about hatred. It's about love. Love for your families, your worlds, your way of life. Today, you take an oath to protect that love. The graduates raised their right hands, claws, or appendages and spoke the oath in 17 different languages. We swear to defend the innocent, protect the weak, and preserve the peace. We will stand against the darkness, whatever form it takes. We are the guardians of the galaxy. As the ceremony ended and families celebrated, Admiral Lee stood alone for a moment, watching the graduates disperse. Ambassador Park joined him. "Any regrets?" she asked. Lee Daeho looked at a group of young aliens laughing together, a Velnari, 2 humans, and a Morthek, all wearing the same uniform, all committed to the same cause. "No," he said simply, "no regrets." Outside the academy, patrol ships from the Galactic Defense Force moved through space, keeping